Well, you know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't broke fixing it. And apparently there's a reason why they say that. So let's take a look at my truck, which I fixed when it didn't need fixed, and now it's broken. So, yeah, I guess without further ado, let's do this. That was supposed to do everything. What? Oh, the freaking... There we go. Except one more thing. Perfect! So yes, my Dakota is broken. You may recall that in a video recently, I did several different things to this. I replaced the spark plugs, plug wires, and the distributor cap and rotor. I also replaced the trans-pan gasket recently, and it repaid me by doing this.
I'm not 100% sure what this is.
I have narrowed down the problem to a power steering leak. I've never been attacked by bubble wrap before. That was interesting. So we have bought items. Item number one, I'm gonna try not to install, and we'll see if it is fixed without it. But it is a premium remanufactured power steering pump. You know we gotta go with premium stuff around here. It's really important for such a quality vehicle like this one. I even bought a new window for the back. That's how important it is. Sure, it's had the you know, aluminum foil tape on the back for like 4 years, but if you ignore that factor, I've always cared about premiumness. And English, clearly. But like I said, hopefully we shouldn't need to install this, but we bought it just in case. And if we do end up needing to install it, then we can. Oh well. However, what we probably will need, these guys, power steering lines. These are, this is like the high pressure and low pressure line. So we should be able to replace both of them, and we'll see what happens. But I wanted to talk about the Dakota a little bit because the Dakota, it kind of makes me laugh because, believe it or not, this is probably the only vehicle that I own that I would say that I really don't think I'll ever sell. For such a piece of crap like it has really meant a lot to me. And I wanted to kind of explain why that is. And sorry, I'm just struggling getting everything out of here right now. So yeah, that must be the high pressure line because we got us fitting at both ends. Let's take a look and see if we can figure out where these lines go. So if you can see down there, that little line, little loop that you see on top is the low pressure line, and the bigger loop right there under this reservoir is the high pressure line. I'm not going to screw with it today, but I will have to shortly. I use this vehicle essentially as a work vehicle, and recently we've just been using my wife's car as a work vehicle and a daily vehicle, so not exactly ideal. So yeah, I mean, that definitely looks like the problem. You can see those lines are like absolutely coated in fluid, and it's funny because the way that I found out there was a problem is I had a headphone in. I was listening to a video from Taylor Ray, which great guy, makes awesome videos. This is a shout out that probably doesn't matter because most of you guys have probably heard of him. But I was listening to one of his videos and he was working on a vehicle of some sort. I don't remember what the video was. And I was driving and I kept hearing a belt squeal. And I was like, that's weird. But it was really like inconsistent. And every time I heard it, it made sense for the video. But eventually I was kind of like, is that the video or is that the Dakota that's doing that? So I paused the video, drove for like 2 or 3 minutes, didn't hear anything, and I was like, okay. Started the video again, immediately heard the belt squeal. So I was like, oh, it's a video. And then I kept driving, and then I noticed that it happened when I was accelerating, and I'm like, okay. So I turned the video off, and then finally heard the belt squeal with the video off. And I'm like, that's weird. I mean, it doesn't, like, it's never squeaked before. I don't know, maybe the tensioner somehow got out of whack. I don't know if these are auto tensioner or not. I don't know, I've never really paid that much attention. You know, it was wet outside, like it was raining, but it's never squeaked in the rain before, so it's kind of just like, that's odd. But it's the Dakota. I mean, this was $450 when we bought it, so I didn't really think a lot about it. I was just kind of like, whatever, worry about it later. Until I stopped at where I was going, and then I turned off the truck, stepped out of the truck, and smoke was emanating from out of the hood. And I thought, I don't think that's supposed to happen. I wasn't sure exactly what was leaking. It was clearly oily, but I couldn't tell exactly what it was. Turned out to be power steering fluid. So, yeah, not that surprising. This has over 240,000 miles on it. Whatever, I'm not upset at it. It's fine. But it just goes to show, why is it that things always go wrong after you fix them? So, we have the lines, and we have the pump, but I don't think the pump is the issue. It's probably the lines and or the fittings for the lines. I don't know. So we'll go ahead and tackle that in another video if you'd like to see it. If you would not like to see it, let me know and I can do it on my own time. I wanted to talk for a minute about this truck though, because this is kind of my favorite vehicle I've ever owned for no real reason of any gravity whatsoever. For those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I used to do lawn care as a business. I had several different accounts and I would do them just throughout the week. And this was the vehicle that I used to tow all of my equipment. I used it for 5 mowing seasons and it was a great vehicle. It literally never let me down. It was annoyingly loud, it sounds terrible, it's rusty. The second year doing it, a rock shot out of a mower at a really annoying job and shot out the rear window. Therefore, I actually made no money off of it considering I had to buy this window, which I just did recently. So I've been driving it for like 4 years or something without a rear window. Well, it has part of a rear window, just 2/3. And, you know, it just has never let me down. Somehow this has kind of been the most reliable vehicle that I've ever owned, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But here we are, and the thing is, I don't have nearly as much of a use for this truck as I used to. I plan on buying a newer truck in the future, and that will do everything this truck does, and I won't have a lot of reason to own this truck anymore. But I just can't push myself to get rid of it. And I don't understand why. Sometimes the stupidest vehicles are the ones that seem to really touch your heart. And Night Billy here. Yes, the truck's name is Night Billy. It's a long story. Actually, it's not long, it's just stupid. He's really wormed his way into my heart with his crappy 1990s mid-sized truck charm. And you know, if I was ever to sell this truck, I think I would really, really regret it. So I'm not going to. So I would like to ask you people, what should I do with my Dakota? Let's take a look around it. I have a few different ideas for it, but do keep in mind that for the time being, this is going to be a daily driver, essentially, once I fix the issues that it has. One set issue right here. I'm sure you guys totally can't tell where the window shattered. It's not obvious at all. And you know, so I think you guys are gonna have a hard time, but please let me know if you can figure it out. And I'm so split on what I want to do with it because I want to do something awesome. I feel like I have too much respect for this truck to just let it die, even though it might want to. So here is my general ideas for it. Right now it has a 3.9 V6. Even after the tune-up that I did to it, this engine's tired. There's no denying it. I mean, it doesn't use any oil. It runs fine, but this engine is clearly past its prime. So I've had several different ideas for what kind of like engine swap I could do in this truck, and I have one in particular that I would like to do, and here are essentially the two options that I've thought about. One, I think would be really cool and would be really easy. So for those of you who don't know, this is a 3.9 Magnum. The 3.9 Magnum is literally a 5.2 Magnum, which is a V8 with like the front 2 cylinders chopped off. And instead it has a bigger fan shroud. A 5.2 Magnum or even a 5.9 Magnum essentially bolt right into the exact same spot. If I'm not mistaken, I think one of the motor mounts is different on the 5.9 Magnum, also known as a 360 Magnum. But the 5.2 or the Dodge 318, same thing. I think the motor mounts are even identical to the 3.9. So all that the truck would need to fire right up and run on that engine would be new engine wiring harness, or the wiring harness could be chopped up and adapted. I'd rather not do that though. Wiring, not my forte. And a new PCM. I said PCM, it might actually just be the ECM. I can't remember which it is on these trucks. It's been a while since I've researched this, but all that you actually have to do is get a ECM, I'm assuming, from the same year truck with the same engine. It doesn't have to be a Dakota. So as long as I get a 1997 Ram for whichever engine, whether even it could be a 3.9, could be 5.2 or the 5.9, any of those will work with this truck. It's incredibly simple. As far as engine swaps go, going from a 3.9 to a 5.2 or a 5.9 is practically as easy as they get. But do you know what else would be cool? Swapping in a Chevy small block. Now listen. My dad has, hi dad, a Chevy small block sitting in his garage, disassembled, that is never gonna go in anything ever at this rate. His Skylark, it has a small block Buick. It's not a Chevy small block, obviously. And this truck, I mean, a 400 small block would be cool. And for anyone who might be thinking a 400 Chevy small block, that's not a thing, or is that a big block? It's not. It came in trucks. The 400 small block Pontiac motor is a completely separate thing, and the 396 big block is technically lower in cubic inch, but that is a big block. The 400 is still a small block. Anyway, it would be neat. But the whole idea would be to basically make this truck a sleeper. And as much as these wheels are so horrendously ugly, a very large part of me wants to recondition them and get the center caps for them, which turns out you can find. They're just really expensive. And make this the 90s truck that someone cared about at some point, because that's what makes me laugh with this truck. This truck has those like white hyper gauges that were like super common in the 90s and early 2000s. It has the wheels that are on it, and it has like a few other like weird speaker accessories that have not aged well at all. And again, clearly someone cared about this thing at some point, but then either they sold it or they just kind of abandoned it and left it to just sit around and rot. And it's a shame because, again, clearly someone cared about this thing at some point, the poor little truck. So don't get me wrong, this is not a project that would probably be tackled anytime soon, but Project Sleeper Dakota, tell me that that doesn't sound absolutely amazing. And if you think it doesn't sound absolutely amazing, whether or not you have good reason, actually don't tell me. I don't want to know. First of all, another thing that I've always wanted to do with this truck, which I don't think is probably ever gonna actually happen, is build it into a pre-runner. It's a two-wheel drive truck. Why not make something awesome like a pre-runner? Pre-runners are so cool. It's like my favorite off-road truck, like, category. They're just so cool. This would take a lot of work to get it into a pre-runner. There is, unfortunately, not really a Dakota aftermarket anymore, at least not to nearly the same extent as just like other mini trucks of the same era. So, what should I do? If we were to go drag/sleeper Dakota, should we keep the rust or should we fix it? The frame is solid, and that's what's important. So either way, it's not gonna be a safety issue, but at the same time, I kinda don't want the truck to just continue rotting away. The rust that's on it is not super duper serious. It's bed sides, probably bed mounts, and cab corners, rocker panels, bottom of doors. Keep in mind, this is not a project that will happen literally anytime soon. But if it's something that you'd be interested in, or you're interested in me continuing to do things to this absolute turd that I for some reason love, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. I have a Dakota to fix now, so I'm gonna do that. Maybe right now, maybe not, I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can break loose that fitting, and if it's a huge pain in the butt, then I'll probably go inside and pretend it didn't happen. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps, and I appreciate all of you guys watching. I will see you guys later. Take it easy. I'll see you next time. Why did I outro that like 4 times? I don't know, whatever. Hand thing.